There are some busy days right now at the Shanghai Auto Show, and that goes for the Hyundais as well. So this is the new Elantra N. I made a video on the facelifted Elantra just I think a month back or something like that. I think it looks so good, but in the Elantra N version it looks even better. Hyundai are absolutely crushing it when it comes to their design right now, specifically with the updates of their current models. They're starting to get a lot more grown up in their designs and having a lot more structure, specifically in the front end. So what we're gonna do in this video is have a look at this new facelifted Elantra and compare it to the old one, and I'm gonna show you exactly what I'm talking about here when I'm saying that it feels a little bit more grown up, even though it is the N version, which is supposed to be the young, fun version. So let's have a look first at this article from Motor One. So this is called the Avante N, and Avante is the name used in home South Korea for a small-ish sedan. However, as with the standard model, the global N version should look virtually the same as we have for the South Korean model, and thankfully, I hope that's true, because it looks really, really good. Then you have these fresh 19-inch wheels. We're going to talk more about these wheels when we look at the side view, and black badging. So you have bigger wheels, you have black badging, no chrome. Exactly the two choices you can make easily to make your car look a lot more sporty. So what do we have for the powertrain here? The thing is, we don't have any images of the interiors yet. So I'm going to show you the previous, the 2022 Elantra N interior. I don't think, as I say here, as well, that I don't think they're gonna make a huge difference for the interiors of the 2024 model, because the 2022 already looks like a brand new interior. And it's also unclear whether Hyundai has modified the turbocharged 2-liter gasoline engine. In the pre-facelift model, the 4-pot is good for 276 horsepower and 289 pound-feet of torque. It would be cool if they got a little bit closer to the 300 range when it comes to power here, but it is also a front-wheel drive, so you can't really have too much power just going to the front wheels. 276, maybe, it feels like a good number still today. The transmission choices should remain the same. You have either a 6-speed manual, good job, or an 8-speed dual clutch automatic. So let's jump in to the design here. Let's have a look at this Elantra N. I really like the old generation as well, because it feels like a very fun car, and I love the red accents that we have on the car as well. And the color for this baby blue just feels nice to have. It feels like a very unique color to have these days. So looking at the front end, we have a bunch of changes going on here. Specifically, we now have more of a horizontal starting point for all the graphics. Looking at the old one, we have this line up here, kind of goes very far into the fender and the hood of the car, the side of the car, before it dips down, and everything in here is black. So when you look at this as low lighting, you can't really see any details in the front end. For example, these fins here, all black. The grille is all black. You have this chrome logo over there, which is basically the only thing that would pop if you shine a light on the front end at night. And then you have these daytime running lights that look very special. You have one long piece, then a separate piece here, and a third piece going up in the corners. It's a very unique front end. Maybe some people would say it's a little overstyled, but for some reason, Hyundai is one of these brands that does overstyling in a very good way. I'm not sure why it works with Hyundais, but they have a lot of styling going on here, but it still somehow really works. So they also recently updated the Hyundai Sonata, and I'm telling you, Hyundai are on a roll right now when it comes to updating and facelifting their cars, and the same goes for the Elantra and the Elantra N right here. So have a look at the differences of the starting point of this line. This just looks like a more premium design, simply because we don't have these headlights or daytime running lights sticking too far up in the graphic like we have in the old one here. Just reducing this height of where the front end starts, it makes for a more aggressive and confident front end when we have it like this. And in addition to that, as I said before, this is all black in the inside of the Elantra N here, and it creates this big black hole when you look at it in low lighting. But in the new one, the facelift one, they decided to have these fins now be body color, and I think it looks so much better to have this piece sticking in and cutting in far into the grille and creating some sort of contrast between all the black that we have in the front end. And it also creates this bumper looking thing here that goes from one end to the other that we didn't have in the old one, because this was all grille from the very top to the bottom part of the integration of the lower lip. But now we have this black piece in the middle cutting in, separating the top part of the graphics of the front end and the grills and headlights from the lower intakes in the bottom. It's just small changes. It really is small changes to the previous generation or the pre-facelifts, but they do make such a big difference, in my opinion, to how you perceive this car. It feels like a more premium, a little bit more grown up, and a lot more confident design when you look at this from a front view. Then we have a light bar in the front end now as well, stretching from this corner all the way wrapping around to the end of the other corner as well, looking very clean. And last but not least, you also have now the blacked out logos. Here it's chrome. Does it feel like you should have chrome on an Elantra N? I don't think so. I think they should have gone with the black even in the pre-facelift. Another detail that I'm really glad that they updated here for the Elantra N. So let's have a look at the side view here. And this is the only picture I could find of the side view of the new one, so I apologize for the quality of the lower picture here of the new one. But let's have a look at what's changed here. If it's actually anything changed in the side view, we're gonna have a look at the rear. You can see hint here that something is happening with this diffuser. It's a different integration of the diffuser in the rear. It sits a lot higher here in the back. We still have the red graphics going now in the back side as well, which we didn't really have, specifically not looking at it from a side view here. We do have some red pieces here, but now this stretches across around the corner and into the fender here, which I think looks a lot better, because look at the side skirt in the old one. You had this red piece going in the side skirt, you also had the same piece going in the front end, and now we have it all around in the rear as well. So they added this piece also wrapping around the corner. Very nicely done. And then you have these new 19-inch wheels. So let's talk about these wheels for a second. Well, if you just zoom in on this wheel, this could very well be a Lamborghini Huracan Evo wheel. And I love that Hyundai took some inspiration from that. Yes, they rounded this top part and not have it be completely hexagonal like we have like this on the Lambo, but it still looks very much inspired by the Lamborghini design. So looking at the front end, here you can see that the front headlights, they don't really sit a lot higher than they did in the pre-facelift. They just took this angle and brought it down. So now we have more of a straight angle for the front end, the graphics, and I think it looks really good. And as I said, adds a lot more confidence to this design. I also like looking at it from a side view here, that we can now see the fins in the front end going up to this black bumper that we have in the middle and creating less of this overstyled feeling that I get when I look at the pre-facelift one. This just feels more structured in the front. And then of course we have the Elantra typical trademarked side view, shoulder lines and everything origami style that goes in the side view. So we have the same kind of styling here that we have in the facelift. They didn't change the side, but it still looks very cool. So we have this line going from the taillights, then kind of creases in here and disappears a little bit quick here over the rear axle, and then coming back stronger than ever going into the front end axle as well, and cutting through here and connecting with this corner. I think it's one key line that you can drag out here, and you can see that it's connecting from the taillights, the very corner of the taillights, to a graphic feature that we have in the front end, which is this little corner here. Other than that, I can't really see any differences between the two, and it doesn't necessarily need it because it still looks very modern and very good. Let's have a look at the rear view before we jump in and have a look at the 2022 interior, because I don't think, as I said, the interior is going to change a lot here. We do have some major changes in the rear, even though it doesn't look like it, but it still complements the grown-up confident feel in the front. And that has to do, you see up here we don't have a lot of changes in the upper part. We still have the exact same taillights, exact same wing. I'm not a huge fan of this wing. It kind of looks a little cheap maybe. I would like to have this be less angled and more just a simple looking wing. Maybe have a side plate on it here as well to create some more sporty look for this wing. But looking at the rear end here, you see the lower part is completely different. So the black part here, now we don't have as much black parts in the front end of the Elantra N, but it came back in the back. So we have more black parts in the rear than we had in the pre-facelift. You can see that they stretched out this line and now goes into this corner and cuts down into the rear fender. I think this integration looks better because I wasn't a fan of this line. It looks very cut off for some reason. It kind of clashes with these graphics here. It doesn't give give them space to breathe there. So I wanted to have something that sticks up a little further in the black piece, and that's exactly what they did. I think this integration here feels like all the details in the back now feels like they have a home, and they also have space to breathe for all the graphic features in the rear. The diffuser looks pretty similar. We have 4 slots and 4 wings here. We also have 4 wings in the facelifted one, and we have the same triangular reflector light down here at the bottom. So small changes in the rear. I think the majority of the changes happen, of course, in the front end, even though this tiny change in the rear, I think, make it look a lot better as well. And then we have the 2 almost, I think I could call these bazooka tailpipes, because they look pretty big to me, and they suit this car, having 2 symmetrical round tailpipes in the rear. I might want to have those be blacked out, because these are the only, they look chrome, these are the only chrome pieces on the entire car. You can see the blacked out logo in the rear as well, and this Avante lettering for the South Korean market. And then we have these chrome pipes. Make them black, I think that will look a little better. So let's have a look at the interior here of the 2022. As I said, this is probably gonna stay exactly the same as we have in the 2024 facelift, because it still has all the modern features and design styling and philosophies that we have in a modern 2024 car. You can see this is the auto, but it also comes with a 6-speed manual transmission. I kind of like this integration. It looks like we have a nice housing up here for the gauge cluster, and we have a big rev counter in the center, exactly what you want in a sports car like this. Then we have a pretty decent integration of the infotainment screen. We have an angle to it here, so it is a little bit stylized. It's not just a square. And then we have a radius here, another angle here, doesn't go straight down, and another radius at the bottom sitting right above the vents, which are very easily adjustable, and they're right there, not trying to hide anywhere. Also here on the side, looks like we have maybe a 4th screen on the left side of the gauge cluster. Steering wheel looks pretty good. It's a 3-spoke, which we want in a sporty car like this, with some nice quality touches and the N logo right there at the bottom. And look at this, we also have physical buttons for the gauge clusters and the radio up here. Keep everything else, transmission, suspension. You can see we have all the different exhaust sounds and stability control, steering, all of that. You can have that as touch screens in the display here. I don't care. I'm not gonna change those while I'm on the highway driving. However, I might change the climate or the temp, or I might change what's on the radio, and I want to have those always be physical buttons, and that's exactly what we have here. Well done, Hyundai. I can't wait to see where you take this new design language that you're working on with the Sonata and with the Elantra and apply that onto your entire existing lineup.